Allow me to start this conversation with a couple of questions which may be cliche already. How does it feel to finally see your films on the big screen?
Hello everyone. Again, I'm Owen, Director of Sunog sa Sugbo. So, to answer the question, feels surreal kasi iba talaga yung feeling pag pinapanood mo lang siya sa phone or sa laptop during the editing process and everything. Iba yung effect niya dito sa sinehan, lalo na with all the sound and all. So, it's in its full might talaga yung products namin. So, nakaka-proud.
Congratulations, Direk Von.
Hello everyone, I'm Von from Director of Sa Tumoy Sa Walay Kaumanan. And the feeling is really fulfilling po. As a young filmmaker from the regions, from Nabunturan, it's really great to see and to hear the people appreciate and talk about the film while I'm sitting over there and I can hear all their comments while the film was playing. So it was really fulfilling for me po.
Congratulations, Direk.
Hello, so
Direk Keith.
fulfilling din. Gaya. So, ayan, parang it's nice to see na finally parang lahat ng pagod namin parang worth it din pala at parang masaya rin na parang makita or marinig yung other reactions ng mga viewers. Napaka-saya siya sa feeling na parang okay, worth it naman pala lahat ng pagod namin, lahat ng pawis, you know.
Tama. Hello po, ako po si Diana, Director of Cities, Laundry and Taxes. And same rin, fulfilling. Fulfilling makita yung pinaghirapan namin parang half a year na rin namin siya wini-work on. And cinema experience talaga siya. Parang yung mga pelikula namin, iba pala talaga pa yung pakiramdam pag may kasamang community na manood, responsive, and naririnig namin yung feedback right away. So, thank you po sa mga nanood today.
Congratulations, Direk Diana. Direk Ronjay.
Ayun po, fulfilling din. Wala nang sabi. Kasi naman
Copy-paste.
kayo, puro kayo fulfilling. Hindi. Fulfilling kasi syempre mapapanood mo on big screen tapos parang kumbaga yung matagal yung finormulate na message and all yung calls nyo dun sa mismong film, makikita na rin ng ibang tao. Ganyan, mapaparamdam mo sa kanila yung gusto nilang maramdaman, yung dapat nilang maramdaman and all. Tapos, ayun, medyo nakakakaba siya kasi parang hindi mo alam kung ano magiging reaction ng mga tao dun sa film. So parang habang nandyan ka, nakaupo ka, nakaganyan ka, nagtatago, nakatago ka kasi hindi mo alam kung matatawa ba sila dun sa mga lines and all, something. Ayun po.
Maraming salamat. Maaari ba natin ulit silang palakpakan naman dyan? Sige. Films are representations of reality, but in order to live up to that, you have to ensure that your characters are portrayed sensitively and authentically. Ano ang ginawa niyong pananaliksik? How did you immerse yourself in the community or in the story that you wanted to represent? Paano ang casting process? Maaari niyo ba kaming kwentuhan tungkol dito? Sige, kahit sino ang magsimula. Direk Ronche, sige, ikaw naman ang mauna para sila naman yung manggagaya sa'yo mamaya.
Ano po, syempre din sa process, kailangan una sa lahat, kasi mga trans mga bading yung casting. So, kailangan talaga, trans talaga sila, or magta-transition at the same time, kung bading dapat talaga. Kasi syempre, hindi, tawag dito, parang hindi mapoportray ng isang character yung mismong, yung isang actor yung character niya kung hindi niya mismo danas first hand yung kung ano yung dapat na experience ng mismong community. Halimbawa, yung kwento kasi namin about sa trans community, gaano kahirap yung mismong transition, ano yung mga struggles nila. So, kailangan para maramdaman ng mismong cast o ng mismong character yung mga eksena and all, kailangan first hand nilang naranasan yon and all. Tapos dun sa research process naman, pag-i-immerse dun sa mga trans friends ko. Actually, sila yung inspiration kung bakit ko siya ginawa kasi parang kumbaga, yung mga trans kasi parang nakikita natin sila kung paano sila pinoportray sa film, parang transition na sila. Pero hindi natin alam o hindi talaga natin nakikita fully ano yung mga struggles nila during their transition. Hindi natin nakikita yung fact na ano yung mga kailangan nilang i-sacrifice para makabili ng pills kasi hindi naman talaga fully accessible para sa kanila yung mga safe pills o hindi naman lahat ng trans afford na magpa-consult doon sa
Right.
mga doctors and all para tugma yung pills na iniinom nila. So, ayun, lagi nating tatandaan na kapag sa ganun, parang ano ba yung, ano yung kasabihan natin na parang, no investigation or no immersion dun sa mismong community itself, no right to speak. So wala tayong karapatan na I mean sa pelikula ng kwento ng isang komunidad na kung first and foremost tayo bulag tayo dun sa kung ano yung karanasan nila. Hindi natin alam at hindi natin sila nakakasama sa araw-araw. Ayun po. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Direk.
Okay, so sa process po of doing the film, immersion as well, I agree with Ronji. Yung pag-i-immerse sa character, sa pagdadaanan ng mga character na binubuo ko. So, ako kasi as a filmmaker, I do a very introspective approach to my films. I try to understand, it's coming from my personal experiences kasi. So, I try to understand kung ano yung mundo na gagalawan ng character ko. So, if there is something that I haven't personally experienced, I also talk to people who personally experienced it. And with this, I had this one subject who shared his story with me, and how he dealt with being a victim or being related to a victim of violence during the past administration. So that is something that I wanted to shed light on with Cities, Laundry, and Taxes. And it took me at least a year or two to really fully develop the story of this short. And with the casting process naman, script is very important para sa mga artista. Malaman nila kung ano yung gusto mong sabihin, ano yung dapat nilang gawin, and ano yung pinaglalaban ng kwento. So with casting my actors, script po yung first naging stage. I let them read the script, hear their thoughts, and know na we're fighting or we're on the same page and we're fighting for one thing. And I'm just incredibly lucky na I have these actors who agreed to do this project with me po. So, yun.
Maraming salamat, Direk. Sige, Direk Keith.
So, yung pinaka-immersion talaga namin for the prod of Due Date na ni Judith is nangutang kami. I mean, wala kaming choice kasi, yung fund, mahirap, nagka-problems din kami financially. But in all seriousness, since bata pa lang kasi ako, I've been very exposed sa realities ng utang. Shinare ko rin to nung pitching session na yung first memory ko na sa utang is when I was around 5 years old. One day, kami ni na mama sa bahay namin, may biglang kumatok sa bahay namin. Tapos, nagulat ako kasi yung reaction ng mother ko, nagtago siya. Tapos, pabulong niya na parang, sabihin mo, wala ako dito. So, sabi ko, I was confused. Pero like, nag-agree lang ako. Binuksan ko yung pintuan. Tapos sabi ko, binuksan ko muna yung pintuan. Tapos sabi ng mama, may malaking mama, sabi niya, "To, nasan si mama mo?" Sabi ko lang, sabi niya wala siya dito. So,
Nabuking.
at that time, hindi ko rin gets what was really happening. But parang slowly as I grew up, yun pala, may utang pala si mama. So parang, it's harsh reality na parang we have to face na parang nangyayari pala talaga to. And kahit sa community ko, parang ang daming very normalized yung utang, especially kahit yung mga pinambabayad nila sa utang is utang din. So ayun, medyo malungkot siya. So parang yun talaga yung parang gusto kong i-achieve. And as well, medyo worried din ako when I was writing my script kasi I'm touching the subject of pregnancy, and lalaki ako, so I don't have any like experience. I will never experience pregnancy in my lifetime. So what I did was I consulted with my female directors na friends and writers na parang, am I handling this topic sensitive enough na parang hindi ko na siya dinidiminish as a concept lang kumbaga. So parang it takes a lot of consideration then, and sensitivity to handle this type of subject, kumbaga. And in terms of my casting, yung main character namin is si Jorebel Agoto, which is taga Manila. And our language na ni-use sa film was Hiligaynon. So it was a challenge then kasi she has to learn the language in just like 2 days kasi medyo short din yung time namin. But fortunate enough, onti lang na kasi yung parang lines talaga sa film. So medyo natutunan niya naman yon kahit at tapos nakuha niya rin yung accent. Accurate enough na parang convincing naman siya for me na talagang hiligayin talaga siya na speaker na local. Ganun. Yun lang po.
Salamat, Direk Kid. Sige, Direk Von.
Sa case naman sa Tumoy, actually, ang father ko kasi is a retired teacher and currently now a farmer. And it was a first-hand experience na galit ang mga farmer, pero walang boses ba? Pero for me, I took that na ay hindi sila sa walang boses. May boses sila. And it just needs to be amplified. Kaya dun ko sinulat yung kwento. At ang nakapag-trigger talaga sa akin is yung promise na 20 pesos. Kaya may 20 pesos sa film. Na binaon siya, parang kinalimutan, tas biglang pinakita ulit, binalik ulit, na inopen ulit, tas parang, ewan, hindi talaga yun mag-work. At saka galit na galit yung mga farmers dun sa amin, dun sa 20 pesos. Kasi unjust yun hindi yun makatarungan. Kasi babad na babad sila whole day. Tas yung palay, mura na nga, mas gagawin pang mas mura. So, ganun. So, in terms naman sa casting, yung sa mga bata, nag-post kami ng casting call. Pero walang nag-reply, walang nag-reach out sa casting call kasi nga doon sa amin very less lang. Walang actors. Kailangan mo pa talagang lumabas sa lugar namin sa Nabunturan. So, ang ginawa ko, pumunta kami ng mga Flores de Mayo. Inaisa-isa namin yung mga Flores de Mayo kasi doon maraming bata eh. Tapos doon, sabi ko, sinong gusto umakting pumunta sa likod? Doon dali-dali silang lahat pumunta sa likod. So ayun, naging flow ng casting. Tapos inexplain ko sa kanila na itong film na to is magbibigay ng boses sa ating mga magsasaka at kung ano ang hirap, ang struggles nila na napapakita man, pero yung mga ganung ka-basic, yung ganun ka-simple, nakakaligtaan yung ganun ka-simple na mga bagay. Katulad ng 20 pesos, sobrang ano lang yun eh. Sobrang minor lang yun na detail. Pero sobrang grabe yung effect. Kasi for me, ang power ng belief at ang power ng isang promise, or power ng words ay kaya talaga makapag-alter ng isang society. Kaya yun yung naging pinaka-utmost trigger nung pelikula. That's all po.
Salamat, Direk. Direk Owen.
Okay, so for Sunog naman, yung initial ideation niya talaga, na-inspire talaga siya dun sa parang, hindi kasi ako from Cebu. I'm at least around 3 years pa lang ako sa Cebu and still learning to be a Cebuano day by day. Pero as a newcomer dun, na-surprise ako sa fact na almost every week may sunog, may dumadaan na fire truck sa tapat ng dorm ko. So, sobrang curious ako dun. Bakit ganun? Bakit sa amin naman hindi naman ganun? So, nagtanong-tanong ako, tapos nakarinig ako ng rumors about yung like urban development and how it's tied to like fires in slum areas. So, I just took that topic, pero hindi ko pa agad na-develop. Parang 1 year ko bago siya na-develop kasi ang hirap para sa akin kasi sobrang sensitive siya na issue. So, hindi siya basta-basta. Ang laking world building nun, hindi naman ako nakaranas personally ng displacement. Nakaranas ako ng namatayan through a fire, but it's not consumerate to an experience na ma-alter yung trajectory ng life mo because nawalan ka ng bahay, hindi mo alam paano ka babangon. So, yung initial process talaga na ginawa ko, especially nung story development pa lang, ay naghanap ako ng mai-interview. So, may mga narinig din kasi ako from past classes namin, may mga immersion opportunities to communities na informal settlers na relocate to relocation site. So, ayun, parang heavily drawn from their experiences yun. Kasi parang nasunugan sila, tapos ni-relocate sila sa lugar na hindi na accessible to their livelihood, hindi na accessible sa resources. Unlike sa previous, like, yung settlement nila, kung saan malapit sila sa mga mall, malapit sila sa mga convenience store, tapos yung mga areas na yon, yung mga stores na andun, parang binibigyan sila ng discount pag bumibili. So, yung experience nila na masunugan sila ng bahay, mawalan sila ng bahay, tapos pipili nilang mag-relocate. Para sa atin na mga outside that experience, parang ang dali, di ba? Parang iisipin natin, okay, may solution naman pala talaga. Pero hindi. Kasi that's another pile of problem na kailangan nilang i-figure out. And na-figure out na nila yung life nila in that settlement. So, yun yung parang primary bosses ng pelikula na gusto ko sana makaspark tayo ng discussion kung paano natin i-deal with yung ganong issues ng informal settlements, kung paano natin i-handle ng maayos na hindi sila nala-left behind kung i-relocate sila or something like that. So, doon nabuo yung characters. Tapos, with the casting naman, nag-casting call kami, pero personally, hindi ko talaga nagustuhan yung mga nag-send. So, lumapit ako sa yung mga cast namin, nilapitan ko talaga sila. Pinitch ko sa kanila yung story. Tapos, ang unang tanong ko sa kanila is, kaya ba? Kaya ba? Kasi mabigat siya. So, kaya ba? Tapos, ayun, nung nag-agree, andito yung actor ko, by the way, si Elge. So, ayun, he took
Wonderful
on...
performance, by the way.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So, ayun, he took the challenge. So, I've never worked with him then. So, most of the actors there, hindi ko pa nakatrabaho talaga. So, parang yung process namin of like really building the character into getting the authenticity that we want, nagkaroon kami ng roundtable discussion. Dinidiscuss namin yung characters. Kung ano yung dynamic nila as a family. Gusto ko kasi na galing sa actors mismo, yung intuition nila, kung paano nila i-deliver yung character. So, kailangan, para sa akin, importante na maintindihan nila yung character. Kasi hindi talaga siya simple. Hindi siya parang you just put on a facade, tapos okay na yun. Kailangan maintindihan mo ano yung struggle ng pinagdadaanan ng mga piniplay mo, pinoportray mo. So, yun yung process.
Napakaganda at napaka-importante ng sinabi nyo tungkol sa pananaliksik at paglubog. Kasi bilang mga malilikha, bilang filmmaker, trabaho natin no, na ipakitang isang komunidad ng hindi lamang hamok sa stereotypes na nakikita natin sa internet kung paano natin sila ipoportray. Sige, I would like to go deeper into your films by asking you individually, and I guess I would like to take the opportunity to make this into, to turn this into a platform for education and awareness, since especially your speeches yesterday or last night were very personal and advocacy driven. Sige, magsimula tayo kay Direk Von. Magical thinking in Bitoy's childhood reflects an inherited belief. Do you see belief here as an inherited culture or cultural inheritance, a survival mechanism, or a systemic trap? Ano ang masasabi mo dito?
I think it's the mixture of the three.
Right.
It's inherited in a way, the same way as generational trauma. Ganun kasi yun eh. Kapag nandun ka sa ganung klaseng environment, kung ano yung napapakinggan mo always, yun yung tatatak sa'yo. Tapos dadalhin mo yun hanggang sa pagtanda. At yun yung naging parang world build ni Batoy. Kasi dun lang siya naka-revolve eh. Sinulat ko yung character ni Batoy bilang isang character na binase ko sa isang totoong kaedad ko na never nakapunta ng school, never nakatapak ng eskwelahan. So paano yung mga influences na nakukuha natin sa school? Marami kasi tayong natututunan sa mga paaral na hindi lang educational. Binibuild ng school ang characters natin. So paano pag nasa farm ka lang always? Pag nagtatrabaho ka lang always? Pag nakakayuko ka lang always? Ano yung magiging character mo when you grow up? So I think it's the mixture of three. And I think Batoy is the effect of the events in my life that were instants. Ganun yun eh. Kasi doon ko hinugot si Batoy sa mga instance na nangyari sa buhay ko. For example, kami, 6 lang kami magkakaibigan. Sabi namin, film tayo, film, ganito, ganyan. Tapos ngayon, nandito kami sa itong platform ng Sinikabataan. Ganun yung mga instance eh. Parang kay Batoy lang na instant na nawala yung belief out of a really outrageous event. Kasi in-instill yung belief ng parents niya. Pero sa ending, yung parents niya rin, yung nanay niya specifically, yung sumira ng paniniwala na may kapangyarihan ng bigas. Kahit isang sakong bigas na yung umulan, wala talaga eh. Hindi talaga kaya. Tas kung pansin nyo sa ending, Batoy was not trying to heal the oppressor. He was trying to heal the wounds of his father, the wounds of the farmers, and the wounds that he grew up seeing all the time. So that's it po.
Maraming salamat. Sige, meron akong isang katanungan na nagustuhan doon sa pelikula. Pwede ba nating, siguro sa Tagalog, no, pwede ba nating gamutin ang sugat ni Papa gamit ang bigas o kanin, tama, no? It's true that rice can indeed nourish, it can fill a stomach, but it's for farmers, I believe it's justice and truth that fill the soul. Sige, I'm sure everyone here has their own interpretations of that ending, but what does Batoy's act of crumpling cooked rice with his hand symbolize, and how does this connect to his journey from innocence to awareness?
Sa akin, yung pagsulat nung ending, kasi yung ending kasi, kung pansin nyo from the start of the film, except for the end, there was no movement in the frames. It was all still. Walang movement eh. Pero sa ending, it was the first time that the camera moved. It panned. For me, when I was writing that, para sa akin, that moment was the signal of growth. Something changed in Batoy. And, ewan ka lang, pero, pag, yung mga farmers kasi, para sa akin, ay, galit talaga kasi sila. Tas, palagi kong kina-question, galit sila, pero ayaw nilang bumoses. Parang may ganung takot eh. Tas yung kay Batoy na instill din sa start na talagang naniwala siya na may kapangyarihan ang bigas or something magical na kaya makapagaling ng lahat. Tapos biglang nasira on one instant moment. Tas we stopped on a frame where we can see si Papa, si Mama, si Batoy. Si Mama nagdala ng kaldero, tas si Batoy nakadala ng cooked rice, yung rice na kanin. So, at that very moment, Batoy realized that there was no magic. There's nothing. It's a false hope of survival. Hindi totoong nakakapagaling ang bigas, hindi totoong nakakapagaling ang kanin. Wala. And at the same time, aware na ang ibang farmers na wala na ang oppressor. Pero, they would still not do anything about it. Kasi may papalit na bago eh. Babalik tayo sa cycle. Kasi nawala na yung oppressor, pero papalitan pa rin yan. Hindi yan mawawala unless tayong lahat ang babangon. Kung pansin nyo rin sa ending, si Papa, yung character ni Papa, wala siyang sinabing kahit isang dialogue. Siya yung voiceless character sa whole film. Tapos yung postura niya from the start, palaging nakayuko, palaging nagaganito. Except sa ending, when he finally stood up and realized that there's a need for change. Pero, aware na yung mga farmers, but still, they are still continuing to yuko. Nakayuko pa rin sila sa sistema kahit alam nilang may problema na sa sistema. Which is mali. And I know it's mali, pero it's the truth. And that's the reality that is portrayed in the film.
Salamat, Direk Von. Sige, another politically charged film that sheds light on another community is For Better or For Worse by Direk Ron J. Mendiola. I think this is very personal to me because my thesis was about the Filipino ballroom culture, and I was able to immerse or ground myself in a beautiful community whose struggles unfortunately become more intersectional once they transition. I don't think anyone would ever be able to understand how physically and emotionally taxing that can be unless you're in that position, but also so rewarding. Tapos makakita lang tayo sa social media ng dalawang matanda na magsasabing tolerance lang, sapat na. 'Di ba? Sige, what were you hoping that the audience would take from your film?
Sige. Ano ba? bukod dun sa nabanggit ko kanina na yun, nga gusto natin makita nga yung struggles ng trans community. Yung behind dun sa story kasi gusto ko rin i-share yung kwento ng friend ko. Kasi actually inspired yung kwento niya dun sa kwento ng friend ko na namatay siya last year. Trans siya, nagta-transition siya, so nagkaroon ng complications sa heart niya. Tapos mainly yung dahilan kasi may mali dun sa pill na iniinom niya. So parang dahil may heart condition na siya, tapos mali pa yung tinitake niya. So parang nagkaroon ng complications and all. So ayun. So dito sa film na to, ang gusto ko lang parang maipakita dun sa mismong pelikula, dun sa kung ano yung mga dapat nagawa namin as her friends nung mga time na nasa ospital siya. Like, yung mga trans friends namin, like, sumasali talaga sila sa contest para mabuno yung mismong mga pangangailangan ni sis. Nagka-call for donations and all, something. Tapos, ano yung parang, kumbaga, what if nabuhay siya? Parang what if nakasurvive siya? Gusto niya magkaroon ng family, gusto niya mag-adopt, ganyan and all. So, kumbaga, ayun yung gusto ko mapakita dun sa mismong pelikula itself. Kung ano yung mga kung nabuhay si Jade na friend ko, ano yung itsura niya, at kami as her friends, ano yung mismong itsura namin nung nasa hospital siya. Like, ano yung mga ginawa namin. Hindi ako sumali sa contest, tumulong ako sa call for donations, pero yung mga
Pero
friends namin.
pageantera talaga yung
Yes, mga
kaibigan mo.
pageantera talaga sila and all. So, ayun. Tapos, syempre, bukod din doon, ang gusto ko lang din ma-realize natin ay parang kumbaga, dun sa mismong film itself na may irony kasi doon na parang 'di ba parang akala ni Jen ang makakapagpalaya sa kanya from her abuser ay yung mismong pills na inaasahan niya. Pero hindi niya alam yung pills na iniinom niya itself dahil hindi siya knowledgeable about it at gusto niyang magmadaling makatakas dun sa abuser niya. Ayun pa yung kina-hospital niya. Kawawa naman si Jen. Charot. Pero,
Ganito talaga natin pinoprocess yung mga trauma natin.
oo, tinatawanan natin siya.
Tinodog show.
Oo. Pero, ayun yung gusto nating mapakita dun sa pelikula na yung mga trans, kaya di ba may line doon na parang hindi kami baboy para gawin yung botcha. Kasi nakikita ko yung, hindi lang mga trans, kahit yung mga LGBTQIA+ community members, para silang mga double dead. Parang botcha sila na parang 2 beses silang pinagsasamantalahan sa lipunan natin. Una, dahil bakla sila. Pangalawa, at ano yung katayuan nila sa lipunan. Una, bakla sila, kaya sila ina-exploit dun sa gender nila. Pangalawa, kung anong katayuan nila, mga manggagawa, may mga baklang magsasaka, may mga baklang manggagawa. So parang doble-doble kang pinagsasamantalahan. Ang hirap kaya nun.
At lalo na kapag naging trans women ka pa,
di ba?
Na-
Baka
na
triple
babae
pa,
ka
di
na
ba?
rin.
Oo, kasi parang kung nung lalaki ka nga, pinagsasamantalahan ka na bilang kung anong katayuan mo sa lipunan and all, tapos based on sa gender pa, paano pa pag nag-transition ka
Babae
pa
na.
bilang babae, di parang pangatlong pagsasamantala na yon. Parang grabe na. Grabe na. Ayun yung gusto nating ipakita sa pelikula, yung multi-layered na exploitation na nararanasan ng hindi lang ng trans community, kahit nung ibang mga members ng LGBTQIA+ community, at kung paano sila natitrap dun sa mismong sitwasyon na kala nila meron silang paraan para makalaya, pero at the end, parang yes, meron naman, pero magandang ma-acknowledge natin as LGBTQIA+ members na hindi natin kakayanin na makawala dun sa mismong exploitation itself kung mag-isa lang tayo. Kaya nandyan si Barbara, si Tintoy, at saka si Bianca para makita yung collective effort na kailangan para makalaya tayo mula dun sa abuso, doon sa exploitation na nararanasan natin. Kasi si Jen tinry niya nang siya lang mag-isa eh. Inom lang siya ng pills, minadali niya, and all. Pero, ayun, dun siya humantong, sadly.
Very lucky to have, despite our struggles, to have such a beautiful, beautiful community. Maraming salamat, Direk Ronjay, sa
Thank you
pagpapakita
po.
nan. I think, speaking of intersectional issues, one of the most prominent aspects of Direk Kit's film is processing problems with a smile, no productivity and positivity as neoliberal values. What prompted you to take an experimental and or sci-fi horror take to this subject, and how did it elevate your message? Bakit rin pagbubuntis ang ginamit mong simbolo para ipadala itong mensahe na ito?
Nung nagsa-start pa lang talaga ako, when I was conceptualizing my story, I was torn between ano nga ba yung gusto kong ikwento, pagbubuntis ba or pangungutang. So parang one day naisip ko, okay, what if I combine these two issues? So parang doon talaga nagsimula yung pagde-develop ko ng story. And yung difference kasi ng pangungutang or pagkakaroon ng utang sa pregnancy is hindi mo malalaman sa isang tao pag may utang sila. Like you will not know physically, unlike if may if we compare it to a person na pregnant na physically may bump sa stomach nila, pero pag may utang ka kasi hindi mo like in this pool of people, you will not know if sino dito yung may utang, sino dito yung I can judge but I will not know.
Grabe naman si Derek, oh. May SP later pa kami ngayong 50.
So what I'm trying to say is I tried to build a world where we can tell kung sino yung taong may utang. So, medyo doon ako nag-delve na parang, okay, what if nakikita natin yung tao na may utang pala sila? And gusto ko rin may realize ng tao na parang it's a systemic problem na parang lahat tayo may utang, lahat tayo si Judith dahil sa gobyerno, sa sa abuse ng power, sa greed nila. Yung ending is tayo rin nagkasasuffer as a citizen of this country. So, million individually yung utang natin if i-compute, which is not right. Kasi why is this happening? Kasi nagbabayad naman tayo ng taxes. Hindi excuse na parang, ay, minor ka pa lang, hindi ka nagbabayad ng taxes. Nagbibili tayo ng mga products, di ba? And lahat yan may value-added tax. And it's it's a systemic problem talaga na parang hindi lang siya mabe-blame mo sa isang tao, kundi makikita mo if you trace it, it is a whole systemic problem kung saan yung people in power are the main source of problem. Why is this happening? Bakit ito na-perpetrate? So, yun yung gusto kong i-try i-shed light po.
Maraming salamat, Derek. No? Sabi mo nga, lahat tayo may utang, tapos may mga nagsisi-private na ng account at dinidelete yung post dahil kaya naman nila at anak sila ng mga ano. And speaking of this, in a country, sige, Direk Diana, punta tayo dito, no? In a country with a tendency to whitewash, pun intended, history and information, how important is it, in your perspective as a director, especially for the youth, to not be afraid of exposing dirt and speaking against it? Bakit ba laundry workers ang pinili mong bigyan ng ilaw sa iyong pelikula?
So yung laundromat during the development is parang idea ko lang kasi siya nung una na pag nagpapalaundry kasi ako, parang sabi ko, samot-saring damit siya ng iba't ibang tao sa city. Back when I was in college in Taft, meron kaming laundry shop na pinupuntahan. Laging every time na binabalik, ibang damit yung napupunta sa akin na parang, uy, halo-halo na. Yung baho niya, baho ko na din. Parang ganun po. But then, parang it just kept on playing in my mind na what if this laundry workers witnesses something na very intriguing, something na pwede nilang erase, pero pwede ring something na itago nila. And that prompted me to write this script. What if there's a family that depends on this business? Do they speak about it or do they, just stay silent kasi dun nakasalala yung buhay nila? And for this one, nilagay ko lang yung parang naging character ko, mga versions ko nung high school ako. I was a student journalist. And what prompted me to quit it is medyo nagkaroon ng red tagging back when I was in senior high. And natakot akong mag-speak up. But then, nagkaroon ako ng experiences sa life towards college that made me think or made me realize how important it really is to speak kasi you see how you influence other people around you.
Right.
So with as a student journalist, you get to write articles, you see the reaction from your readers. For this one, as a filmmaker, instant yung nakikita mong change. Isa pang bagay na nakikita ko personally is how films sticks to the mind of the people who gets to watch your work. And parang yun lang yung feeling kong strength ng mga katulad naming young filmmakers na hindi takot magsalita because yung mga message na sinasabi namin sa mga pelikula namin, it will influence at least one person in this room when they get out. It will stick in their mind, talk about it, and yun naman yung purpose ng paggawa and yung mga craft po namin.
And thank you so much, Direk Diana, and to all of you for taking advantage of your privilege as young filmmakers to still not be influenced by the studio system of the country and still be able to create these types of films that are definitely eye-openers. Maraming salamat. Sige, Direk Owen, your film reframes arson not merely as a crime but as a symptom of poverty, correct? Sabi nga doon, di ba, dapat hinayaan na lang natin i-demolish nila yung lugar no, kapag itatranslate natin sa Tagalog. Napakita natin na ang ganitong klase ng perspektibo ay hulma ng isang mapang-abusong sistema. How did you navigate portraying that? It's kind of tricky without excusing or justifying the act. Paano ang proseso nito?
Kasi parang off the bat, alam ko naman na in any way, hindi naman talaga justified yung arson. So, when you look at it in the lens of like someone who is pushed out of desperation, hindi mo justify pero you can empathize. So, ganon yung process of navigating the world of Koy. Kasi, personally, ako, parang I've experienced things in my life na parang mahirap i-navigate rin. So, ang dami ko ding people around me who are going through a lot. So, based on the interviews that I had, parang inisip ko lang, how would a child who is forced to uplift his family in time of tragedy react to such a situation? Kasi, kung mapapansin nyo sa pelikula, si Koy, hindi siya sure sa bawat desisyon niya. Hindi niya talaga alam anong gagawin niya. Ang alam niya lang, i-rebuild nila yung bahay nila. So maghahanap siya ng pera para i-rebuild yung bahay nila sa same area kasi yun lang yung alam niya bilang bata. Kasi ayun nga, wala na siyang tatay, bago lang siya naging breadwinner ng family nila kasi buntis nga yung nanay niya. So with that aspect na parang wala naman talaga siyang choice, hindi niya alam kung ano yung gagawin. When offered a quick cash job, kahit na hindi naman yun aligned sa morals niya. Nung nakita niya yung urgency ng situation nila doon sa evacuation center nung nagkaroon ng stampede, na-realize niya na hindi sila pwedeng magstay doon. At more importantly, hindi sila pwedeng mag-wait na tulungan sila kasi hindi naman talaga siya sure kung kailan sila matutulungan. So, he took the opportunity to grab that. And that's why he was remorseful of it sa end. And yun din yung root of his anger. Kasi after he escaped the fire, what stumbled upon him is the urbanized Cebu City. Kasi separate island, for context lang sa mga hindi naman geographically aware about Cebu, Cebu City is a separate island from Lapu-Lapu City. Lapu-Lapu City, that's where we shot Sunog sa Sugbo. And so, yun yung parang contrast na nakita niya na mangyayari yung urbanization whether he likes it or not. So, wala talaga siyang choice, wala siyang place in the world.
Maraming salamat, Direk Owen. No? Sige, I think I've asked and said enough. Palakpakan naman po natin sila, no? It's now time to hear from our audience. Is there anyone who would like to raise their questions, to share their reflections or message to our filmmakers here? Pakitaas lamang po ang ating mga kamay. Meron po bang gusto magtanong? Uy, nahihiya. Sige po, meron po bang gusto magtanong o mag-share lamang ng reflection? Meron po doon. Sige. Ayun. Meron po tayo.
Hello, good afternoon. I would just like to share a reflection or an observation of the set na parang lahat ng films na present ngayon ay galit sa sistema, which is not necessarily a famous na parang point of view kasi laging ang kalaban ng tao ay tao. So ay maganda na itong set na to. Nag-focus talaga tayo na ang problema ay sistema. Yes, makikita natin doon sa ibang films na tao yung kalaban ng tao. Pero sana maisip ng crowd na nanood kanina na ang kalaban talaga natin ay sistema. At ang tao lamang ay pinapagalaw na kung anong sistema na kung nasaan siya. Well, yung tanong ko actually hindi siya related doon sa sinabi ko. It's just a reflection. Pero ang question ko lang for the filmmakers na not from Manila, would you recommend some works or studios ba na you think are doing a great job to represent the area that you are coming from? Ayun lang po. Thank you.
Our regional filmmakers?
Ako na lang mag-start. So, ayun. So, for the Cebu region, so, meron namang collective doon, which is the Binisaya. So, they really champion regional films, especially Cebuano voices. Recently, there was a film that shares the same voice as Sunog sa Sugbo, which talks about displacement in Cebu as well. It recently won Binisaya Film Festival. So, I think you can check it out in OneFlix if nandun pa siya. It's called Dangpanan. So, ayun, parang madami namang regional films na ang lalakas ng boses. Kasi ang daming regional films na regional experiences na hindi nakikita dito sa Metro Manila na kumbaga parang magugulat ka na lang na nangyayari pala yun. So parang ganun. So let's explore more talaga.
I'm sorry po. The question was for filmmakers or films po on the regions? Okay. Sa Nabunturan naman po, sa case namin sa Nabunturan, there's not really much that big of a film community. So we had to source out to Davao, sa Davao region. Sa Davao, may film community, pero nag-iisa lang ang film community ng Davao. And the main production house in Davao is the Origani Films, the home of the Ngilngig Asian Fantastic Film Festival. And it was the film was a collaboration of the Ngilngig and the Nabi Filmex, the Bunturan Independent Film Exhibition. So, in terms of filmmaking in the region sa Davao, talagang mahirap gumawa ng pelikula sa sarili naming lugar. Kaya pumunta pa kami ng city to source out the equipment, the people, the cinematographer, production design, even the cast was from Davao, not from Nabunturan. So, ganun, hindi siya ganun kalawak. In terms of films, the Ngilngig Asian Film Festival is a really good film festival to explore regional films that are Ngilngig. Pero there is no definition of Ngilngig, so it has to be an experience to be on the Ngilngig Asian Film Festival. And also the Nabi Filmex is a wide collection or exhibition of regional independent filmmakers that are really rooted in the regions of the Philippines. So there are a lot of films that are screened open on our municipal. So if this year it will open on September, so I hope to see you there po.
In terms of the filmmaking scene sa Panay, Iloilo, or Aklan, it's still considerably growing pa at this moment. But if mag-recommend ako ng isang production house, it would be Southern Lantern Studios. It is the same house prod na naggawa ng Tumandok, John Denver Trending. So, dun pa lang from the films that I've mentioned, makikita nyo talaga na parang um, regional cinema has a lot to offer. So, parang ayoko rin na mabox yung Philippine cinema with just, as of now kasi it's very Manila-centered, which is not that bad, but there's so much to offer yung country natin. So, gusto ko, like, I encouraging everyone to explore and, parang try to watch other films outside Metro Manila, although hindi man ito Tagalog, although it uses other language na hindi kayo familiar, there are subtitles used, so you will still understand it. So, yun po.
Maraming salamat po. So, do we have another questions from our audience? Alright, meron po tayo dito sa baba.
Hello, hi, good afternoon. First off, I'm very impressed na it's very technically polished ang mga films, pero napaisip din ako, may kapalit to. So what I wanna know is, anong paghihirap nyo sa paggawa ng films nyo and what could have been done differently? Ayoko ng mga advocacy, ganun. More on, ang hirap na kasi gumawa ng films ngayon. So I wanna know ano yung sufferings nyo when you made your films.
So, ito po ay technical standpoint. Okay, sige po.
Hindi. Tea. Gusto ko ng tea. Ganun.
Chika! We want the tea. Alright, sige. Anyone would like to start? Sige, Derek Ronje, what's the tea?
Producer, charing tinawag. De ano po tawag dito? Una, syempre financially, nag-struggle po talaga kami. So parang kumbaga, medyo nagpatong-patong pa yung utang talaga namin. Ganon. Tapos,
Due date na. Si
Oo,
Jude.
kaya nga,
Due date na si
inahawa
Derek
pa kami sa
Ronje.
inyo. Pero, ayun po, nangutang gano'n. Parang kumbaga financially, nag-struggle po kami, una yan. Kasi hindi namin alam saan tayo hiram ng ganito, saan tayo hiram ng ganyan para makuha na to, mabayaran na to, ganyan. Kasi pinaghahanap na kami. Parang konti lang, mapopost na kami sa Facebook. Charot. Tapos siguro din lang naman sa mismong film itself. Kasi yung last scene, hindi talaga ayun yung ending niya. Ang ending niya dapat, eto sa atin lang to. Charing. Ang ending niya kasi, dapat pagkikis talaga sila sa loob ng simbahan na silang dalawa lang. Kasi isa sa mga call nung mismong, kasi gusto kong parang maraming maging calls yung mismong film. Na parang, gusto nating ipakita na kailangan i-recognize na ng mismong Philippines yung karapatan sa pagpapakasal ng dalawang same-sex marriage and all, same-sex union, ganyan. Tapos yung shoot namin yun talaga, last scene. Sorry, sa atin lang to kasi nakalib ata tayo, charot. Pero joke lang, hindi ko na i-mention yung name ng simbahan. Pero ganito kasi, nung pinaalam namin sa simbahan yon, hindi nila alam na ganun yung film. So, hindi nila binasa yung letter. So, pinayagan kami, ganyan. Hindi nila alam na bakla-baklaan. Tapos, ang nangyari, ayun na. Habang nagsishoot po kami, nakatingin ba? May nakatingin ba? Ganyan. Kasi yung mismong shot niya, kikis sila, tas ikot sa kanilang dalawa, tapos palayo ng dapat ganun yung end niya. Tapos, ayun, syempre rin kami, natakot kami. Tinawagan namin si Father. Hello, Father. Kamusta ka? Charot, hindi ko na namusta. Ang sinabi ko lang, hello, Father. Ganyan, kasi ganito po yung ganito po yung naging eksena, ganyan. Tapos parang gina-justify ko pa na, hindi kasi ganito po talaga yun, keme, na parang, di ba, okay naman. Kasi progressive naman talaga si Father. Kilala ko si Father. Parang, di ba, okay naman po kayo sa ganyan-ganyan. Tapos sabi niya sa akin, kung ako, personally, okay nga sa akin, pero paano pag inano kami ng ibang mga parokya? Parang ganon. Kami yung mababalikan. So parang wala kaming choice. Tinanggal namin siya. Tapos isa yun sa mga struggle. Kasi isa yun sa mga what if ko nung ini-edit shots. Parang, what if ito yung ending? What if ito yung nangyari, ganyan, and all or something. Tingin ko ayun yung pinaka-struggle. Ang pinaka-struggle kasi sa mismong filming itself, pag nag-edit ka na, tapos parang nagkaroon ka ng what if ito yung nakalagay dyan? What if ito yung nakaganto? Tapos wala ka na magagawa, wala ka ng pera. Hindi ka na makapag-reshoot. So, ayun, yun po.
So wait,
Maraming
na-shoot
salamat.
siya? Na-shoot?
Na-shoot po siya ng may mga bantay, charot, na nagbabantay yung paligid and all. Ayun po. Kasi Catholic Church talaga siya. Ayun.
And that's
And that's,
the T.
yeah, titi yun. Sa atin lang pero naka-live. Charing. Ayun.
All right. Sige, Direk Diana.
Siguro yung natatandaan kong struggle, ang dami po kasi. Dami niya, sobra. But, siguro we were originally, when I pitched this, I came from Laguna po kasi. I reside in Laguna. And all the films I created before are all set in my province. So this is the first time I shot it in NCR. And thanks sa producer ko na siya talaga nag-gather ng people and connections that could help us here. And so, yun yung struggle, finding a laundry shop that would really allow us to be our setting. Yung first na laundry shop namin here sa Mandaluyong, parang they backed out a week before the shoot. So,
Oh, wow.
parang we had this letter, everything was already set, pero ang dami nilang kinikater na customers and they operate 24 hours. So parang napag-isipan nila na, hindi na lang. So parang we had to find a week before the shoot, last minute, maganap kami sa buong NCR kung sino magpapahiram dito. And luckily, we found one in Diliman who parang sila mismo nag-offer na pwede namin gamitin yung place nila for free. So, thank you sa Easy Wash Dry sa May Diliman. And aside from that siguro, one of the struggles as well, I think, is budget. Nasa budget yun talaga. Sobrang mahal gumawa ng pelikula. Even if Cinecab is already a grant-giving body festival, ano pa rin siya. Kapag yung material mo, kailangan pa rin ng extra funds. Siguro yun po yung struggle, magkatok sa mga pintuan ng mga producers na may mabubuting loob kung sino yung magkaroon ng desire tumulong kasi nagustuhan nila yung story namin. And we had those pledgers naman, fortunately. So, I think yun lang po yung Tico Direct Vic.
Maraming salamat, Direk Diana. Direk Keith.
Ayun lang, yung pinaka-struggle talaga. Mukha akong hipokrito kasi like, sabi ko, dapat hindi i-normalize yung pangungutang. Tapos, ano nangyari, nag-loan kami. So, medyo, parang, alam mo yun, bumalik agad sa amin yung kasi like, very real-life experience. Tapos, pwede ba to sabihin, cat the cameras? Wala kaming sweldo as directors. So, sabi ni mama, ba't puro film ka ng film? Wala ka namang na pera dyan. So parang sabi ko, ganun talaga ba? Hindi ako si Cathy Garcia, pero like, alam mo yun, parang it's a sad reality nga, parang ina-expect kasi ng mother ko, parang makakaawan na kami sa hirap, kasi like,
It's not a profession, it is a what?
Akala niya na mabibilhan ko na siya ng kotse. Like, parang, alam mo yun, may fantasy na siya. Pero like, ba't humihingi ka pa sa akin? Sabi niya. So parang, di ko rin ma-explain kasi like, she will not really understand the whole process kung gaano talaga kahirap yung filmmaking na parang, kulang na lang ibenta mo yung katawan ko. That was not funny, no? Tapos, ayun lang, parang, it's very ironic on our part na parang kulang na lang i-block ko yung producer ko kasi like very shout out to my producers kasi di ko alam paano nila napagkasya yung 200k na parang wow bangis gano'n. So kudos to them. So I'm really although grabe yung I won't, this will last hours if lahat ng struggles ikikwento ko ngayon. But, yun lang muna.
Sige. Sige, Direk Bon.
Sa Tumoy naman, there are two things. There are two T's. Uno, budget talaga yung number one problem. Budget at saka tao. Kasi ang hirap talaga mag-source out kapag nandun ka sa amin sa Nabuntro. Wala talagang cameras, wala lahat, walang equipment. So we had to source out from Davao and thankfully, ang Origani Films, Sir Bagani Fiola was very helpful to regional filmmakers. Talagang ganun sila ka-open sa mga young regional filmmakers. Same kay Direct Juvie which contacted Direk Bagani Fiola. And ang second T is yung struggle ng pag-translate nung gusto kong mangyari sa mga non-actors na mga bata. Kasi first time nila umarte tapos parang wala silang experience sa play, walang ganun sa school nila eh. Walang mga performance task kasi bata pa sila, 8 years old pa lang, wala pang mga ganun. So ang ginawa namin, 1 week before the shoot, sa may headquarters kami, 1 week namin silang in-isolate sa world. Tapos silang tatlo lang mga bata, puro acting lang ginawa namin for the whole week. Syempre minding the hours of our actors. And ganun yung naging pinaka main struggle, yung hindi sila first time nilang umacting po.
Thanks so much, Direk Von. Direk Owen.
Teka lang, parang nagka-war flashbacks ako doon. Saan ba magsisimula? Charot. Siguro yung main struggle namin, siguro 3. So, first yung location kung saan kami mag-build ng mga bahay. Kasi binild namin siya. So, naghanap kami. So, May pa lang, libot-libot na kami sa Lapu-Lapu City para maghanap ng empty lot. Kung saan kami. Actually, may utang pa ako sa AD ko kasi gas niya yun eh. So, due date na ni Owen. Ganun. Pero, yun, eventually nahanap namin, abandoned, pinayagan kami, free. Ayun. So, okay na. Next naman is, nung pag-build na ng bahay, parang costly talaga siya. Nangutang na lang yung tao. Paano pa? So, yung covered lang ng expense namin for the construction is base materials lang. So, yung ibang materials na ipapang cover namin, for example, plywoods, hindi siya covered doon. Tsaka yung mga bubong. So, kami ng Art Dep, parang naglibot kami around, nag-outsource kami sa Buceti, naglibot kami sa Lapu-Lapu City, naka-truck kami, tapos naghahakot kami ng mga kahoy sa mga public school, sa mga sulok-sulok, umabot kami sa point na parang every time may empty may kahoy sa daanan, may bubong sa daanan, parang hala, pwede yun. I think magagamit yun. Tas, may trivia lang, doon sa Top Shot na parang ang daming yung sunog na mga bahay. May gamit doon na parang inopen niya yung cabinet. Yun, parang nakita ko lang yun sa kalsada, pauwi ako sa dorm. Kasi ko,
Baka gagamitin pa yun, Direk.
nasa dump site na siya. Sabi ko, hala, pwede to. So, ayun. Kinuha ko siya. Tapos, pero sure naman ako na
Okay, hindi naman sila naglilipat lang.
sorry, na-display.
Napagsamantala.
Yung last, siguro yung mounting ng scenes. Especially nung Stampede. Kasi, ayun, ang daming tao, di ba? Ang daming extras na kailangan mong i-handle. Intimidating siya for me. Sinasabi ko sa AD ko na parang, kung malampasan natin yung Stampede, okay na ako. Parang kaya ko na tapusin tong pelikulang to pag nalampasan natin yun. So, nalampasan namin siya ng 2 takes. So, ayun, na let go na yung extras. Sige, guys. Yung ibang extras kasi doon, parang kinuha lang sa area. Tapos, pag-review sa fan, ako-rap. So, nag-smile lang kami ng 8. Sige, retake guys. Yung producer ko, siya yung lumapit sa mga tao around the gym. Kasi yung outside the gym is there's a daycare. So may mga parents. So nilapitan niya lang. Tara guys, magtulakan tayo dito. Pero, ayun, buti naman pumayag. Tapos na-take namin siya ulit. Tapos it was better than what was the original take. So,
Right.
blessing is in disguise. Yun.
Okay, sige. Maraming salamat. I think we have one last question over here from Miss Rica. Okay, sige po.
Okay, congratulations for being brave, no? Gusto ko lang malaman, no? Curious ako, and we won't judge you, no? Sino yung local filmmaker or director na nag-influence sa inyo to pursue filmmaking?
Sige, mabilisang sagutan lang. No? Sino ang local filmmaker? Local lang ba, Miss Rica? Okay, sige. Local filmmaker na nag-influence sa inyo. Sino ang gustong mauna?
Feeling ko ang pretentious kung sasabihin ko, pero ang heavy reference ng Sunog is Lino Broca. Pero siguro yung nag-push sa akin for filmmaking is Wanda Ramas. Tapos ang pinaka nag-push is nung napanood ko yung extra ni Jeffrey Jaturian. So yun.
Maraming salamat, Direk Owen.
Sa akin naman po, yung talagang nag-push sa akin to pursue, to get into filmmaking is Ishmael Bernal. Kasi based on beliefs talaga yung mga films na ginagawa ko po. And in terms naman sa very local talaga, doon sa amin talaga, si Direk Bagani Fiola at si Direk Jovian Clarito po.
Wait lang. On top of my mind si Derek Arden, tapos si Derek Glenn Barrett. So one of the most influential people sa paghubog ng aking idea in filmmaking.
For me naman, yung parang pinaka-influenced ko po growing up, yung mga films ni Direk Marilu Diaz-Abaya and mga sinusulat ni Sir Ricky Lee. Parang very thought-provoking kasi siya growing up. But then yung parang nagpakita sa akin na posible pala ako maging filmmaker was, he's not here but si Direk Arvin Bellarmino. Share ko lang kasi when I was in senior high school, he did a talk in DLSUD sa Dasmariñas. And tinanong niya kami kung sino dito gusto mag-film. And I did not know na possible palang magkaroon ng course na film. So because of him, nagkaroon ako ng idea na pwede pala ako mag-film school and do films with my own resources. So I think he's the most influential one po.
Salamat, Direk Diana. Direk Ron J.
Sa akin po, kasi laking star cinema ako eh. So parang kumbaga rom-com talaga, mga rom-com directors yan. Cathy Garcia, mga Makers Aviar, ganyan. So sila talaga yung mga nag-inspire me. Pero ako talaga, yung pagpasok talaga sa filmmaking as young, talagang nakapag-inspire talaga sa akin yung mga kapwa ko filmmakers na bata na parang inisip ko na parang kung kaya nila, baka kaya ko din. Parang gano'n.
Maraming salamat. Palakpakan naman po ulit natin, no? Direk Von, Direk Ron J, Direk Diana, Direk John, at Direk Keith. Maraming salamat po. It's been such a joy talking with all of you. And again, congratulations on your films and we look forward to seeing more of your work. Umpisa pa lamang po ito. Palakpakan po ulit tayo dyan.